Last weekend, I watched a documentary about royal empires. It was mostly based on internal operations within the kingdoms, including how subjects and subordinates receive support and favors from the royals. One of the most important things that I learned is that you cannot go to visit a royal without taking a gift. Before you say anything at all, you go to them, you bow down, you present your gift. They receive it and hand it over to their aide. It is considered an insult to go to a king or queen without a gift because it is part of royal protocol. Now, protocol means something that is normally expected. It is part of the procedure. To a king or queen, a gift tells them how you feel about them. It communicates your estimation and your perception of them. Now, keep in mind, the gift has to be carefully chosen because it can also communicate your attitude towards them. Let me share with you some of the things I got to understand about kings. Number one, a king's power is defined by his wealth, his physical wealth, like gold, silver, land. Number two, a king's wealth is part of his glory. Now, king automatically means wealth. And to show it off, a king might put gold on his walls. His throne may be made of pure gold. Everything around him must depict his wealth. You'll never hear of a poor king, which is why it's so confusing why we refer to Jesus as poor, yet we call him king. Number three, the glory of a king is his power to outshine another king. Kings will compete with each other by showing off how much wealth they have. If a king wants to show that his glory is greater, he will give a gift to another king to test the glory of that king. Now, the king who receives the gift must then in turn give a greater gift to prove that his glory is greater. When Queen of Sheba visited Solomon, she automatically, as part of kingdom culture, took gifts to Solomon. Number four, giving places a demand on the king. When you give to king, you place a demand on his wealth because he has to give you a gift in return. But his gift must show that his glory is greater than yours, and he can never give you the same gift you gave him. Number five, giving requires a response from the king. In kingdom culture, if you wanted something from a king, all you have to do is give him something. I compare this concept to the kingdom of God, which quite frankly, a lot of us treat like a casino. I give God 10, he gives me 100. I give 5, he gives me 50. But that's not the culture of a kingdom. You don't give so you can get. You give because you esteem and highly honor this person. And you know that you shouldn't go into their presence without a gift. But once you give, there's pressure on the king. The book of Matthew chapter 2 states that when the star of Jesus appeared, wise men came from the east. Now those wise men were called Magi's, which also means rulers. Now these were local kings who controlled different territories. They ruled in clans, and the clan had a leader. So they were royalties themselves that studied astronomy and the constellation. So when the star appeared, it was so great that the Magi's concluded that it must belong to a very wealthy king. And to prove it, they left behind the people who worshipped them to become worshippers themselves. They understood kingdom principles, so they would go to the king that had been born to worship him. Now, worship means to bow down and kiss, and then present their best gift and put pressure on it. In other words, worship requires giving. And when you give to a king, the gift must be fitting for a king. It must be valuable. Value, if you must know, is not how much you paid. Value is how much it cost you. If you have 10,000 and you buy a gift for 1,000, it's considered a cheap gift compared to your ability to give. But if you have 1,000 and you buy a gift for 1,000, that's the ultimate expensive gift. Same 1,000, but it cost you all you had. Value isn't measured by what you give, but by how much you have left. Jesus talked about the woman who gave her coins compared to the religious leaders who gave so much. And he said, I have never seen such giving in the kingdom of God. The value of her giving was greater because it cost her everything. David said, I will not give God what does not cost me. If I have to give God something, I have to feel it. You don't give God what you can spare. You've just insulted a king. If you give God what you can spare, it doesn't take much to give it back to you. Remember, He can't give you the exact same thing you gave Him. He has to show you His glory is greater. That's why a king will always multiply it, press it down, shake it together, and give it back to you. If you give $5, all He has to do is give you back 10. But if you give 5,000, now you're putting pressure on it. He has to give you 10,000 maybe, which means the same measure you give will determine the measure you receive. So the measure of what is received is usually determined by the giver. Namaste.